You're listening to Talkline with Zev Brenner, America's premier Jewish broadcast on the air since 1981.
Now, here's your host.
Welcome back to the program. I'm Zev Brenner. We continue looking at the Jewish Federation in Northern New Jersey. They do incredible work, but they're a real community, has involvement from all aspects of the community. Joining us again is Jason Shamus, the CEO and Executive Vice President of the Jewish Federation of Northern New Jersey. Lee Lasher, he has, I think, halfway into his term. He's a member of the community. He's past president of the Torah of Englewood, but right now he's about midway through his term as president of the Jewish Federation. So good to have you both back again. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
So one of the things that the Federation is embarking on is a survey where you're aggressively looking to see how many people will respond to the survey. So tell us what the survey is all about, because I know you're aggressively pushing for people to respond.
So we're calling the survey the community conversation. And what it basically is an attempt to garner as much data points about people who live in our community and identify as Jewish as possible so that we can appropriately plan, meet needs, raise funds, and spend funds more efficiently and wisely, create a community vision, and plan for the next decade plus for the community.
So in other words, what are you looking to find? What kind of questions is being sent to people in Northern New Jersey?
So we're looking to collect all sorts of data. One on how Jews are identifying, or in some cases even not identifying, but specifically what their interests are, what their wants are, what they're willing to access in terms of programs and services, views on Israel, views on anti-Semitism, Jewish safety, security, all the things that essentially tie the very fabric of what is Jewish community together. And the only way we can collect that data is if people fill it out.
And what do we do with the data? So you get the information. So how does that help the Federation and what it does day to day?
So the Federation has two different committees going to deal with this. One is the community volunteers, the lay leaders. There's approximately 20 people representing what we believe are the broad spectrum of our Jewish community between age, gender, identity, all of those things, level of observance, etc. And we have the professional executive directors and a couple of rabbis who are also helping us with the specific technical aspects of the data. So the idea is we're going to collect all of this data, and we're hoping to get at least 3,000 people to fill it out, which would give us possibly somewhere in the neighborhood of 500,000 data points to collect. We're going to see what comes out of that, if there are any major thematics and whatnot. And then we're going to go into the community with hopefully COVID-permitted town hall meetings, focus groups, things like that to test some of the findings. Then the committee will come back and start putting, pen onto paper in terms of some recommendations for how to move forward.
So you're looking to get 3,000 responses, at least, out of how many Jews in the area or how many people are being sent the survey?
So we estimate that there's approximately 125,000 people living in Jewish households now, but that's all of Bergen County, all of Hudson County, and Wayne, New Jersey. And those are people who identify as Jews living in households. So right now we've been able to submit it or send it to about 60,000 unique email addresses, which is a pretty dense measure of it, considering of the 125, you have a lot of households and a lot of kids.
And aside from the emails, we've been, a lot of social media campaigns. It's been in the Jewish Standard, the Jewish Link. We're asking people in the officers, people who are involved to send it out to their network. So we're trying to touch as many people as possible, because the broader the responses, the better it will be for the community.
We're even going to the airways, Zev.
Right. Well, that's what we're talking. We want people to respond. I would assume it's like the census. Am I correct? Like this federal government does a census. They want to get an idea what people, who they are, and then that will determine the budgets for local governments. I assume that you're something similar.
I know it's also about sort of Jewish behaviors, right? It's like, if you choose to go to a day school, why? What were some of the challenges? What were some of the more positive things? Your connections and affiliations and sentiments with regard to Israel. caring for the elderly, Holocaust survivors, special needs. So it's a little bit more than just a census. We're trying to understand what the marketplace is looking for, right? You don't want to build a building for nobody. You don't want to provide programs that are going to be empty. We're looking to see if there's sort of cohesive data that points to trends. We want people to feel included, right? Inclusion is a very unique thing. And so when we did a similar study back in 2013, we didn't think of specifically looking at the LGBTQ element of the community or Jews of color or however else people are now identifying. So this study is going even a step further in that respect to reflect what's going on in our actual world.
Right. And what's the priorities? What priorities? What do we see as the priorities that we have to focus on as a community? Listen, the community at the end of the day, it's made up of the individuals, the agencies, the schools, and the shuls. That's kind of pretty much the Jewish community. So to figure out how to serve everybody best, we need to get the data. I mean, I don't have to tell you we live in a time of such rapid change. You know, I always like to laugh about the fax machine. When the fax machine came out, I thought it was the greatest invention of all time. I remember I did a business deal and the guy was in a car and he said, send me the fax, send me the contract. I thought it was like, I'm like, you're in the car. He's like, yeah, I have a car fax, and now, there's no fax,
What's a fax?
Yeah. So
Your cell phone does everything.
Yeah. So, we live in a time of rapid change and we need to get ahead of it and be proactive, I think, and strategic.
Now, I like the idea because you want to have demographics of who's living, what their needs are. I remember I used to be in New York every 10 years. I don't know if they still do it, where I used to get, a big book when told me how many people lit Shabbos candles and how many went to a Seder and how many were poor and how many went to yeshiva education. I would assume what you're doing is something similar. You want to have a handle on who is living in the area and what kind of services do they require.
Right. I mean, that's essentially what it is. I mean, we're not doing the specific of those questions like who's attending a Seder and whatnot, because there are different ways of ascertaining that information and how people identify. But yes, that's essentially what we're trying to understand is the marketplace.
Yeah.
So how long of a period of time is a survey period going to go on for, and what happens after the survey is closed?
So the survey will be open in total for around 4 or 5 weeks. We opened it up at the beginning of January, early in January. It'll run through the end of the month, maybe get extended one more month, depending on what we're getting in the data. We obviously have real data to compare against from Census and Pew Study. So we'll know if we have an accurate reflection of responses. So hopefully by the first week in February, this will be wrapped up. We're getting close to hitting our goal. I know
you have 3,000 people already.
We have over 2,000 who have responded already. The only thing is, the only thing I should really mention is that if you don't live in one of our zip codes that we service, you're not going to be able to take the survey. So no one should take it personally, but we're really looking to cover our area. So if you live in Brooklyn, like our CFO, or Rockland County, like one of our fundraisers, yeah.
Now, but it's nice to see you had 2,000 people so far that filled it out. How long does it take to fill out the survey?
I think the average person will do it in 20 minutes. The high end will be 25. And if you're lightning quick with technology and you know damn well why you send your kids to camp or day school, you could do it in 15.
No, so it's an important thing to do. You want to get a handle. And would you say that you do this every 10 years approximately? Is that what you're looking to? Because the last thing you mentioned was 2013, so a little bit less than 10 years.
Look, the rule of thumb used to be you do it every decade. I guess we're saying now, because of the way society has become more mobile and technology, it's every 7 years or so the data is good for. But really planning for a 7 to 10 year run is about right. These things are not cheap, Zev.
I can imagine probably costs a fortune to have the data done and analyzed and put it all together. Now, I'm curious, because you're relying on email. For those that may not use email, especially the elderly may not be as proficient with email, or there are those that don't use it. Are you reaching out in another way to them?
So I believe they are doing phone calls. There's a phone tree going on. And like Lee mentioned, we've been pushing it out through agencies and synagogues and the day schools that have a lot of boots to the ground. Sorry. And you can see it. Like at one point, the data was heavily skewing towards a demographic that I would say was a day school parent. It was like, mid upper 30s into the mid 40s, and identifying as modern Orthodox, having more than 2 kids. When you see that sort of data, right away that's sort of an active day school data, right? So now we're seeing the data spread out. So I'm seeing that synagogues and other organizations, maybe the JCCs and Jewish Family Services and the Jewish homes are getting their data, pushing it out, and the data is coming in because you could see the lines are starting to reflect more of what the overall census for Bergen County would say we have.
I think I saw the data that there are around 100 people over 80 already responded, and I think around 100 under 30 also responded. So we're getting, a wide range. Of course, expect people between, let's say, 40 and 60, but or 30 and 60. But we're really, nice to see the broad response so far.
He's right. We're starting to get to that, to the point where it's looking like it should in terms of who's responding. I can't comment yet on what those responses generally are. I don't have enough information on that yet.
You have to analyze the data. Now, if somebody who's listening and did not receive an email, how would they go about to fill out the survey?
Oh, there's a website. Shoot, I got to.
Can
I come back? Let me look for it.
They can call the Federation.
They can call the main number, but there is
a number. Yeah.
There is definitely a website. I just want to make sure I get it right.
And that's something which people can log on to, and you have at least to the end of January, but don't wait till the last moment because people procrastinate. So it's important to do. And
I think even a $1,000 gift card for people. There's some kind of raffle as part of filling out the survey. Put your name in, and you get a $1,000 gift card.
Wow, that's an incentive for people to do that. It's like when they give the vaccine, they give them an incentive, so you're giving people incentive, but it's different. I was going to say give them a free vaccine, but you get a $1,000 gift card. Somebody come in.
Is less painful than the vaccine shot, but
no, but
we do believe, and I think the data would show it. Like people are more likely to fill out surveys for things they're already committed to. We're looking to find everyone and anyone who at least identifies as Jew, if they're not affiliated or connected to the Jewish community. Getting their opinion is far more of a challenge. So any incentive, opportunity, or ease of convenience we can throw out there for someone to do it, that would be great.
Listen, I want to commend both of you for the work that you're doing, and it's certainly great to have. The information is power, and I urge everybody to fill out the survey from the Jewish Federation of Northern New Jersey. It's so important. So I want to thank you, Jason Shamus, the CEO and the Executive Vice President at the Jewish Federation of Northern New Jersey. Lee Lasher is a member of the community, past president of Ava Torah of Englewood, New Jersey, currently the president of the Jewish Federation of Northern New Jersey. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Zev, I have the web address for people.
Sure. Let's give it. If you want to fill out the survey, but only from the areas that we mentioned, what is the web address?
theconversation2022.org.
Oh, that's easy to remember. You made it
simple.
Think. Hopefully. Gentlemen, thank you for coming, and we look forward to having you back on a future broadcast.
Thank you.